I'm Gina, founder of Soul Survivor Inc., a nonprofit organization. And what we do is we remove the branding tattoos that are forced on victims of sex trafficking.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I am a survivor of sex trafficking and also an advocate, and I work with Gina at Soul Survivor Inc.
And I love Mariah. There's so much going on in the world today, and by now it's 2020, people have heard of sex or human trafficking.
Yeah, for sure. But honestly, Gina, there's still so many people that think when they hear this, when they think of it, they think of some poor country, some third world country.
Or a big white van driving by and kidnapping a child.
Yeah, and the truth is, it happens in developed countries, it happens in America, it happens all over the world, and it might look different, some places, but it's still very prevalent everywhere. And so this is an issue that other people face, but it's also an issue that we here in America are facing.
People always ask, how does this happen? Who gets trafficked? Why do they get trafficked? And so today I thought we would go over a few ways to educate and raise awareness. One is social media, of course.
Of course.
The biggest one right now being TikTok. So there's always going to be social media. There's always going to be a bigger and worse app or platform. But right now, because it's so big, I thought I would go over a few of the statistics. So here are some statistics on TikTok. There are over 500 million active accounts worldwide and growing. More users on TikTok than Facebook. You must be 16, but it's not enforced. And it's used for fun. My kids are on it, and I thought, I'll try it. It was so fun. Honestly, you can lose yourself all day long for hours a day watching this thing. But it's not enforced. Promoting music and the hope to be viral. And that's what really people do. They want to go viral.
That's the attraction.
It is the attraction, exactly.
And especially for kids, because we live in a world where likes and followers are such an exciting thing that kids are, they're not thinking about maybe the dangers that could be out there. And one of the things when I started learning about TikTok that surprised me the most was that the privacy setting. You can either be completely private, where only you can see your content, or completely public, where anyone in the world can see your content. And if you're a child, you're not going to know the right way to keep yourself safe.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny that you mentioned the world, because this app is owned by China, and the China law is that they are required to share the data with Beijing. They are legally or illegally collecting and exposing content.
Yeah.
And it's also used by ISIS militant. This isn't a safe app.
Yeah, and when I first started reading about it, just the fact that it was owned by China, and they were talking about wanting to build their database of facial recognition for people all over the world, and that in itself is scary, because it's like, what do you want that for? What do you plan to use it for? And these are our kids who are not realizing how dangerous that could be, or how that could affect them sometime in the future. And then also you just have the dangers of everyday people, who may have ill intentions that can reach you, because like I said, that privacy setting, there's no real
It's one
protection.
or the other.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you're between the ages of 5 and 25, you are a target. With sex trafficking, as you know, the main targets are around 11 to 14 years old.
Yeah.
But they're getting younger and younger. And I just learned this the other day, actually. Over the last couple years, child rape videos have increased 5,000%. Child rape videos. So this is something that every parent, every boy and girl really need to know.
Yeah, and just touching on that, I think that a lot of people, they'll say, like, why are kids or young adults in that age range so targeted? And the answer is because we're not fully developed and mature. Up until the age of 25, our brains are still developing. So if there's someone who wants to manipulate or wants to, present themselves as something that they're not, someone who's younger, a child who's younger, is going to be more responsive than an adult who has lived and experienced and seen enough
has
things
the maturity
to
to know
the maturity.
a red flag.
Yeah, for sure. Like, kids don't know that. So if somebody's being nice to them, or somebody is offering them things that they might be lacking in their life, whether it be attention or love or material things, whatever it is, these kids are not thinking they might have ill intentions. They might have some other agenda. They're just thinking, this feels good.
Right.
I'm lacking, I'm hurting, I'm, by myself or whatever the
Well, I
case
love
may
that
be.
you brought that up because a lot of people will ask, that's just, the poor community. They think it's demographic or geographic. So although that it is higher in, let's say, the foster care system, there's no, what do you call it?
Well, yeah, these traffickers are not thinking, oh, you're from a good home, I'll leave you alone.
And
like,
so and
they
then
don't.
some parents will say, I have a great relationship with my child. They would never, they always tell me the truth. We all would love to think that. And I thought that too. And I do have a good relationship with my kids. But kids are kids. You got to think about when you were younger, how much you actually shared with your mom or your parents.
And not only just that, but even if a child is given all the fundamental things that they need, like, they're learning, so they're looking for kind of more. Like when we're kids, we're looking to like burst out of the box and go out into the world. And so when you have somebody who is skilled at and who has taken their time to learn how to figure out what is missing for somebody, and then fit themselves into
Talk
that
about
box.
that for a second. Is about people say I'm smarter than that. I would never, because there's all these red flags.
Yeah.
And with your experience, it's not as easy. It's not as easy to pinpoint that, especially when you're younger.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I mean, of course, I could talk about my own experiences, things that happened, how it happened for me, always. But what I like to talk about now is things that I've learned since I got out of it. Because in the moment, it was I was experiencing so much I couldn't reason. And so I ran across this video a few years ago of a pimp who had written a sort of essay, I guess, addressing other up-and-coming pimps or other pimps on how to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is, Maslow is a well-known psychologist, I believe.
It's taught
on
now in
how
universities.
It's taught in psychology classes all over on how to use that to figure out where a child or a young girl or a young boy is lacking, what area they might be lacking in. And of course, most people, especially in this country, they're getting food, they're getting shelter, they're getting water, but that doesn't mean that they understand self-actualization or they understand, the need for intimacy and connection. And even if the parent thinks that they're filling all of those gaps, like I said, because they're kids and they're looking to burst out of that box, they could still be searching for something. And these pimps are so, these traffickers, these people who spend all day manipulating people, they know exactly what questions to ask, probing questions to find out what's going on in your life. How is your relationship with your parents, or what is your home life like, or what interests you, or what makes you happy. And it doesn't matter. They don't care if it's one thing or another. They're trying to find any small hole that they can insert themselves in. And that's just the scary reality of it. And so, and talking about that, people are probably going to say like, well, what do we do then? Is it just all around us? Is there no way to stop it? And the answer is like, it could still potentially happen, even if you follow every guideline, even if you know everything about it. I mean, because it is playing on the emotions of someone who, like we said, is not fully developed, not fully mature. It's almost like until they know that this could happen to them, that this is the reality of it, that life might not be as pretty as we wish we could show our kids it is.
Right.
They could get sucked into it. But I
was going to say, you look at the Playboy Mansion. Everyone wanted to be a Playboy bunny. It's this glamorous world,
shiny,
traveling everywhere on private jets and looking cute. That's what we think this is, or what this, could potentially be.
That, unfortunately, is how it is in this country. Like other countries, yes, it's by force. It's by, someone coming to your parents' house and saying they're going to give your kid a good life and then paying the parents to. It happens like that in other countries. It does. But here, what it is it's shiny, it's bright, it's pretty, it's exciting. It's all the things that you don't have and dream of. So like I said, going back to, they ask these probing questions. They try to find out what it is that excites you, what it is that you want to do in your life, promise you that, make it sound good, get you attached.
And with your immature mind, you're like, my parents don't know anything. I'm going to go this way because look what everything that is offered.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to TikTok, I was finding out that when you sign up, you're agreeing to give your location, your browsing history, information from your messages, text messages, and also, like we said, that facial recognition.
Yep.
And so it's like if somebody could potentially hack into or get into all of this information, it's like, how safe is it? If, it's fun, but how safe is it?
Right.
And how much are you willing to risk for fun?
For a 30-second clip to hopefully go viral, which isn't going to happen.
And even if it does, what is the goal? What is the end result of that? If you go viral, you get a moment of attention, but you could be getting attention from the wrong kind of people. And that's what I'm worried about, especially with so many children using it. Because, like you said, adults know how to see red flags.
So with TikTok, here's another good point. Major security risks to American people to the point where the Pentagon, Department of States and Homeland Security and TSA have banned their employees and service members from using it. Pentagon even asked that their children uninstall the apps on all their devices.
Yeah, and that's just insane.
That's huge.
Like, yeah, if our
and here we are doing their dances,
Yeah, if our government officials don't want their employees using it, then maybe we should reconsider letting our kids use it.
So there will always be another app. There will always be something greater and bigger. And I'll tell you, and this is what I think about, is when we are allowing our children on their iPads and their phones and computers doing things, it is literally like opening and unlocking their window to their bedroom to allow strangers into your home. When you go to bed, just keep the doors wide open, because that's what we're doing by these apps and this social media, is allowing strangers into our home, right into the bedrooms of our children.
Yeah, and
Scary.
I couldn't agree more. And especially with everything that's going on right now in the world, schools are shut down, kids are at home, and I know that's hard. It's like a culture shock for parents to have their kids all day, every day. So it's easy to say, here's your phone, here's your tablet, go play. But if we're not monitoring, or at least like looking at and checking on what it is that they're doing, then there's no way to tell who's reaching out to them. And that's what I wanted to talk about too, was just that it's with everything that's going on, because it is scary, because people are nervous, because everyone's uncomfortable. A trafficker is most looking for someone that is vulnerable in some kind of way. And so if you're scared, or you're insecure about money, or, if you're a kid and you're seeing your parents like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Those are all things that if the wrong kind of person gets in touch with you, they could use that to persuade you to do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Traffickers are working overtime right now because there's so many people on social media and at home.
Yeah.
So they are just picking them out, and they will be patient. They will groom these young boys and girls, and they'll be patient. Call of Duty is another one. I mean, any of these. They think they're playing with another 14-year-old from a different state or a different country, and this is some 30 or 40-year-old. Exactly.
Yeah, and just to touch on my personal experience, I mean, my first pimp, he didn't come up to me and say, hey, I'm a pimp, and I'm going to make you do this crazy stuff. He came up to me and was like, hi, what's your name? Hi, I'm da-da-da, and I'm only a couple years older than you. Come to find out, he was like 12 years older than me. And then, he's finding out what I like and finding out, and he took time and time and time. I mean, it was close to a year before I did my first thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
So he broke down walls, and another thing that they do is they stretch the boundaries. So where your young girl would never, dance in her bathing suit at a pool party for older men at one point. Somehow her boundaries are stretched, and it's okay, I have clothes on. Then it's the next step. Okay, I don't like that, but they're not going to touch me.
Yeah.
I mean, then it's stretched, and the next thing you know, you're in this world and looking back and going, I shouldn't have done that in the very beginning. I wouldn't be here, because we're young and we're thinking it's our fault.
And not only just that, but they also develop this attachment.
Yes.
So you feel like almost obligated. Like if you don't do what they're asking you to do, every time they're trying to stretch that boundary more and more and more, you feel like if you don't do it, that they're going to take whatever it was that they found that you were lacking, and they find a way to fill it, and they find a way to give you that. Once they're asking you to do things that you wouldn't normally do, it's like, especially as a kid, you're like, if I don't do it, they're gonna take this. And this is what I was lacking, and this is what I needed. And now I found a way to fill it, and I won't have it anymore. And that's the most tragic part of it to me, is because I spent so many years thinking I was obligated, thinking that I had to do this, because if I didn't, I would just be left alone, and then I was already broken from everything that
And
had
lose
happened.
something that you thought you had, but in reality didn't have.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I can tell you one of my goals, being on the end of a victim's journey as we either lighten, remove, or cover up their brandings, which we'll talk about brandings a little bit because most people don't even know what that is, and to the high amount of these victims that are branded and why they're branded, is to prevent future pimps, because we know it's generational. Buyers. Where do these buyers come from? They're brought up every day. There's these little boys that grow up to be men that need or want more than.
I think that, like you said, because it's generational, when you have such a society where things are so over sexualized,
Yes.
it's like you almost can't blame the child who grew up in a family of pimps who was teaching him from a young age, or a buyer who grew up seeing so many things over sexualized in our society that they're desensitized to it when they become an adult. So they see a girl, and of course that's going back to, like, we are made to paint you the picture that you want to see. We're not
So
gonna,
when someone says it's her body, I'm paying her to do it.
She likes
don't,
it.
Don't judge me for
Yeah.
buying a girl. She likes it. That's what a lot of people think. Walking down Vegas, they're passing out the flyers. It's like, don't judge her. It's her job.
Yeah, but
There's a
they're
whole
not
different end. There's a whole different side to that.
exactly. They're not understanding that this girl is. I mean, nobody wakes up one day and is like, I'm gonna go sell my body. Like, it just doesn't happen. Somebody at some point has shown her what to do, even if she's not at that moment under control of a pimp, because we know the chains are in your mind. It becomes psychological. So not all of them are with a pimp the entire time, but it's still that I still consider it trafficking, because if you've had somebody show you what to do and force you to do it and get you into this place where you honestly feel like, how could I just go back to normal? How could I just have a normal life, because everybody is going to see me as this, so I might as well just be it. And so it's like you have these girls who they were trained to and told to paint you this picture of, like, I love it. I'm having fun. And that's what we're told to do. So you're not going to come across, I mean, unlikely that you come across a girl that's like, I'm unhappy, because if she tells you that, if she tells you what's really happening, either you're going to ignore it and not do anything, and now she feels, even more hurt, or it's like a spectacle made of it, and she doesn't most likely want that either. So it's like,
there's consequences
you just
to that.
Put on your mask. You wake up every day, you take your calls, you do what you're told to do, and you try to make it through every moment. And a lot of people don't, but that is the truth of what it is. Whether or not it's what it looks like, whether or not it's what people want to see, that is the truth of it, that you put on your mask and you just do what you have to do to make it through.
So I want to thank you all for listening today, and to let you know that we do have a red flags brochure, and we are happy to mail you one, email you one, or you can go to the website soulsurvivor.inc and download a PDF.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment below and look in the description box for more information. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you next time.